I know it's been there forever, but it isn't. It's like anything. It's like I've always worn since I was 3 years old. I've worn glasses, but it wasn't until it was pointed out to me, like kids, you tease one another, oh, what are you doing? You've got four eyes and all this, and and it was the same with really my ability, you could say. I've always
Yeah.
had it. It wasn't until I went to school and I was teased by mainly the boys at school that I thought, oh dear, I do know things, and you do, and I've always been someone, I can't keep my mouth shut. It just comes out. Do you know what I mean? And so I never hid it, and it never, which I find really interesting, it never scared me.
Well, that was exactly what I was thinking. At such a young age, if it didn't scare you, one, Sally, that you can kind of explain of why you suddenly were awakened to this other side of life, because it is so impactful, especially if you're very, very able to connect and receive at a
Yeah.
young age. Was it a traumatic a busy life? Was this a
No.
stress? Did that awaken, or was it just you being
No,
connected?
well, I think that it was a bit of everything. When you think about my age, I was what they call a post-war baby. I was born like 1950. It's like you're just, the war's just finished really. And where I was born in Fulham, and I was brought up, and Fulham in those days was a very working class, a very poor area, and it had, it was really recovering from the Second World War. So I was brought up like everybody else. We all had the same, which was basically nothing. Our mums and
Yeah.
dads worked. They worked to put food on the table and a pair of shoes on your feet and a coat on your back in the winter. Everybody was the same. Do you know what I mean? So I think that there's no doubt about it. I think about it, and I think that not having, you could say, the privileges that we have today and we can give our kids, I think that definitely helped me. But I also think that, I describe it, and I still describe it exactly as I described it. I remember to a teacher once. It's like we've got this little valve in our head. This is how I think of it. And when we have like a deja vu moment, or you think of someone and then the phone rings and it's them, your valve is open, and the energy, which is a psychic ability, it's innate. We all have it. It's like a dog, or a cat or an animal will sense something's going to happen before it happens. Before a volcano, birds will fly off and things like that. They
Yes.
sense the energy. Well, that valve is open, and a little bit of energy goes through it and causes like a zzz, and you think of, oh yeah, Mary, and then the next thing, Mary calls you, or Mary knocks at the door, and that's, I think that my valve opened at quite a young age, and it never closed basically. So
And do
it's,
you think it's like almost like an evolution in us as a species? Because if you
I
look back
wonder.
in the history, if you look far, far back, Native Americans, a lot of people say they were spiritual. They heard things they could connect. I wonder if it's just, the world's changed, Sally. We're all about money and this and that. We're not actually focusing on connecting with the earth, the spirits. We're not actually thinking about that. But maybe it's one of those awakenings for the humans to go on, but we're also distracted by everything that's happening in the world. It's actually not being fully focused. And I think that's really interesting, because your abilities, as we history, with really important figures in society,
Well, I
all
think,
for
yeah,
years.
I think that what happened in the 20s and 30s, you had, I don't know too much about it, but I know this much. You had like, there was like a spiritualist revival, you could say. And it was the work that I do, and you possibly do, was we were put into spiritualism, which is a religion as well. And I don't follow that religion. But it was really, almost, you could say, you were expected to, the energy that I feel I harness now, in those days, you were expected to say it and do it in a particular way to be recognized as genuine. Okay. Well, I've always, you could call it work, is how ever since a little girl, I just say what I feel. Obviously, you go through the university of life as you get older. So you do learn perhaps how to navigate difficult situations, and you acquire, like any job that anyone does for most of their life, you acquire a skill connected to that. And definitely I've acquired, I believe, a skill to be able to talk to people, all different levels. But basically, I think that this has been with me all my life. Definitely, it was pointed out to me when I went to school, and it was a bit like, ooh, that's true. And I've never forced it. Hopefully, I mean, you never say never, but I don't think I've ever forced my ability onto anybody. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm always, well, for many years I was asked to do programs where you just went up to somebody in the street and tap. I won't do that. That's not. I'm not. That's not what I'm about. I'm not about forcing my ability onto anybody. People choose to come and see me.
You in your later life, you were actually a dental nurse, and
Of course,
you
yeah.
you must have been really close to a lot of people. Did you ever find any times that you were doing that you would just go, oh, well, hello, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that's really interesting because I did my general nursing too, but I was a dental nurse, a DSA as they called it then, 5 years. And you're near the head. And, hairdressers will tell you this and barbers will tell you this. You sense things about people. Someone can walk in, they can be happy smiling, a hairdresser, and they'll say, oh, what's the matter? You sense the head is like, it's a bit like we lose the most heat through here, don't we? If you want to keep warm
Exactly.
in the winter, you put a hat on. And it's a bit like, there's no doubt when I was dental nursing, you do pick things up. But once again, I was never tempted to inflict my ability onto anybody. I was never tempted to do that.
And I think that comes from probably having so much pride in who you are. You wanted to be the most authentic kind of version of
Well,
you.
yeah, but that's really good of you to say that. But you know what? I wasn't even thinking that then. I'm being very candid with you. I wasn't. I'd never thought about, oh, I won't do that because one day I might be a medium. It was like, no, it's a bit like knowing right from wrong, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
was brought up in a very strict working class family, and you spoke when you were spoken to. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And seriously, it was the days when you sat at the table to have your dinner and you didn't talk. You were there to eat your dinner, and it was the same. You didn't say anything inappropriate. And so I think that's been something that's always been with me, and it's been really handy because it's helped me with my work.
Well, you've done so much. You did the Sally Morgan, the Star Psychic. You've done the tours. You've been on so many shows, including Big Brother, coming fifth. But in Big Brother, I mean, there was so many sides to you. We saw the 50 Shades come out. That was fabulous. We also saw the connection with your housemates. What is your most pinnacle moment from Big Brother? Two questions here. And did you watch this year's and did you sense any real genuine feelings? Because it was a very clouded TV episode this year for Big Brother.
Well, first of all, with Big Brother, I have never watched myself in Big Brother. The only bit,
Really?
no, watched because I was really surprised when I came out. Emma Willis interviews you when you come out, and she was talking about the incident with Ryan, and I walked past them both, which to anyone got any towels? I'm going to put them in the wash. Typical me, like doing the washing every bloody day. But and I didn't even realise, and that was the only bit that I watched. I thought, gosh, what? How did I miss that? So I've never watched myself in Big Brother. Big Brother for me was the moment I walked in. I don't think I'd ever been surrounded by large personalities, and I didn't realise really until then that I had such a personality. So you walk in, well, I did anyway, and there was all like these larger than life personalities, brilliant, and I went very quiet. I,
Wow.
I withdrew into myself because of that. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I found myself quite sort of I was contemplating things, and I became very friendly with Kirstie Alley, who's unfortunately no longer here. She passed away, didn't she? And we became quite good friends, and I would call her when she was, in America and that, and she'd call me. And so she was, and I suppose we were like of a similar age, really. We were sort of like, I think I might have been older than her, I'm not sure. But anyway, she, and we had our beds next to one another, so we became quite friendly. I think the pinnacle moment for me was Ryan and the challenges that he faced, and I really felt as if I needed to be there for him. I don't know why, because he's got a lovely family, he's got a lovely mum, and his dad's no longer with them, but he had a lovely dad and wonderful brothers. But I just felt he was lost in there. That's how I felt, and I know what it's like to feel lost in a situation, and I didn't want him to feel that.
Do you not think I sometimes really feel, Sally, as being part of the LGBT, when you're put in TV type situations, it's like perform, 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 and you kind of feel a bit pressure to be that character. So maybe that's what was going on in the heads of people in there. And speaking of people who have gone and came in your life, as someone who is so connected, when someone is lost to us and yourself, do you feel like you can really still feel them? How is that for someone so connected? How is that for someone when you lose someone? Are you then suddenly going, well, it's about time you've arrived, or oh my God, don't come here?
Oh, what you mean when I'm talking to the energy, spirit energy?
Yeah.
I'm the thing is with when I sense I only like to feel spirit energy when I'm working, because this is going to sound really, I don't want to sound conceited and clever. It's always there. Like you get some people, and I totally get it and understand. They go, "Oh, I need to open up and I need to close down," or words similar to that. I've never had to do that.
You never turned the switch off.
No, well, I've never realised. I only now, it's when you have to explain, when I'm asked questions and I have to explain how it works, for me anyway, can't speak for anyone else. That's when I get my answers. And basically, I look at it like a volume switch. It's always there. And then when I'm
like the Hulk, Sally, you're always angry, but not angry connected.
yeah, and like the volume goes up and bang, I'm up and away.
I love that. Have you ever had any moments where you've been like scared? Like, have you just you see the horror movies and the psychic shows and you think, oh my God.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that?
Yeah, I get obviously doing the tour like I do. I'm in my 16th year now, which is unbelievable. In October, I've been touring. It's really been a loop for 16 years, which is wonderful. And while I've got the opportunity to speak to the fans and the people that come to the shows, thank you so much. There have been people that have been coming for 16 years, which is like unreal. But basically, when I'm on tour, obviously you've got all different personalities and people in front of you, and there have been some pretty what I can say, it's like that, it's rocked me. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness me. But I think what people are surprised with me is that I can get really nervous if I see a ghost or a presence or sense something, and that is because when that happens for me, I'm not working. So I'm like Sally. I used to say, like, my brain, you could say, side is Sally, and the left hand side is Sally the medium. So when I'm just Sally, normal, just going about my business, and I was to look at a chair and there was like, I would realise it was a ghost perhaps sitting in that chair, I'd be scared shitless. Do you know what I mean? It'd be like, but when
What makes you realise, Sally? How do you differentiate? How do you know?
Good question. Well, it's with me, every single time I have genuinely seen a presence or a ghost, to use the term that everyone recognises, when I have not been expecting it. It's been like when it's like in the daytime, a normal day, or not even thinking about it, and that's every time I've seen a ghost, it's been like that.
Wow. Wow. It is so kind of unaware of how much it actually takes out of you. And as well as the scary things and you've been working, I'm sure as your career has, you've had speculation, people who disbelievers. How, when someone like yourself is so in touch, when you get someone who's disbelieving or trying to discredit you in a certain way in any occasion, how do you as a professional, but also someone who's really connected emotional and maybe wants to tell that person a message, how do you counter that? Because that is like a mix of
Well, you
emotion.
can't. They're
Feelings.
there. They're there. I can't. And we all have the right to our. We all have the right to our own opinion. And I think that definitely, I think that we need to question this work. So unfortunately, there isn't anything I can do about nowadays with social media. You'll understand this, Faye. We do get trolled, and some of them are really unpleasant. And I do have certain areas that if certain things are said, like especially when they're talking about they want to say nowadays. I won't allow that. But basically, I'm used to whatever people can say, whatever they want, and at the end of the day, I know what happens to me. I know my work is real. If it isn't real, tell me what is happening. Tell me what is happening.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's like
I
a
give you an
validation, isn't
example.
it?
Well, it is like I give you an example. This is just one thing out of a whole career that I've had of incredible things that have happened. This lady, it's in the book, and it's been on television actually. They did the clip. They were filming me, and basically it was a grandmother. She was right at the back of the audience, and I got this little baby in spirit. It was about a year old or something like that, maybe 13 months old, just over a
Yeah.
year. And I thought she was saying, I said in my head, oh, sweetheart, how did you pass? And she said, oh, I got my toe stuck. Her toe. So I'm thinking, my head's like this, which it does when it's working. Oh, she was in the bath and her toe went up and she couldn't get. So I said to the grandmother, oh, she got her toe stuck. Did she drown in the bath? And the grandmother went, because no, she was with me. I went, but she's saying she got her toe stuck. She said, no, she got her toast stuck. She choked in her high chair on toast.
Wow.
But she was 13 months old, so she couldn't, it's a baby talk.
Yeah. So you were just
She
listening
said,
to what
no.
was happening there.
And of course, a baby, a child wouldn't say, I choked, which is what you and I would say, because we know
Yeah.
that word and what it means. She said, I got my toast stuck
Wow.
and I died. And I thought she was saying I got my toe stuck. I mean, that's a really good example as well of how, if I had to say anything to fellow mediums or psychics, never self-edit because, but then I didn't think she was saying toast. It didn't sound like toast, but it was a bit like, I was thinking, oh, her toe in the bath but stuck. The grandma went, no, it was her toast got stuck in her throat. She choked. We couldn't bring her around.
Yeah.
Now, if you were like, if you said to me, what you do is complete rubbish, I'm going to go, oh, okay. What happened there then?
Yeah.
There was 1,000, maybe there was more than that in the audience. It was in the days when I was on TV, so it was like a huge theatre. What was happening there? You tell me. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I think that's kind of so like really important, the age of the child that had passed, how it didn't come through to you because it's not just because someone's passed doesn't mean they suddenly grow up and can enter the room and
No,
go, hi, I'm
no,
24.
they
I
don't.
saw.
Well, that's an interesting question because not all babies that pass, and I don't understand why this happens for some and not for others. I haven't got the answers to that. because I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, if I knew, I would tell you. But you can get like a person that's, tragically lost a pregnancy, whatever weeks or months they are, and I'll see a baby and I'll get the name of the baby, all confirmation, and I'll see the baby at say 3 years old, and it's like, and she said, well, I was 7 months pregnant, but that's what we called him, and then I'll say, and this is like it hits it. 3 years after, I said, I'm seeing the little boy at 3. Did you have another baby 3 years later? And they'll say yes. So the baby was growing and stopped when the next sibling was born. Now, also, you can have, say, a baby, a person, whatever age, and so let's just take a teenager. Someone dies at, say, 18.
Yeah.
And then I'm saying, oh, I've got everything correct, everything, name, date, the lot. And I'll say, it's really funny, she's 25. And they'll say, no, then I'll say, so what happened like 7, 8 years later? Did somebody in the family pass? And they'll say, so you can have a person that passes, or a child that passes, or a baby that passes a certain age, and they can grow until maybe the next sibling is born, or the next person within that family that passes. And then I can pick up people that are in their. I say, oh, they're 38, and the woman will go, no, I lost my baby 38 years ago, but he or she has grown.
Yes. I love that. I love that.
Seriously, with energy, there are no rules, because you and I have a different energy.
Yeah.
Even though we work in the same field and we are sensitive to that, we have a different energy.
With your energy and your experiences, is there any particular characters that are always around you, no matter what? You're like, oh, hello. Is that a thing? Do you have like kind of, I suppose, maybe energy or spirits that kind of stay around you because of the closeness or the connection you've had when doing a reading, or someone from your life who's passed? Do you have anyone that is continuously around you?
No,
Wow.
no, no, no. Obviously, since losing John,
Yeah.
but John's never with me when I work, because he was never with me when I worked anyway. But I don't have. I think maybe what you're on the path of. Do I have a guide? I don't have a guide that you could say guides me with my work, but I do believe, and I trust, because it's that we, all of us, have like a guardian angel of someone that takes care of us and is there when our time is, we have to leave, or maybe when there is real big challenges in our life, we'll sense them around us. But I don't want to say I don't need a guide.
Hear that, Sally? Hey,
No,
you are
no.
someone who harnessed their abilities at a young age, someone who knew, someone who believed. So yes, I think you can stand and be like, I haven't needed a guide because my instinct has guided me from the
Well,
background
that's
to
a good
where you
one. Well, I
feel.
think, Faye, how you've just described that is perfect. That's no, seriously. I think perhaps that's why that is then, because it's not me being clever. I've never had a guide.
I kind of recognize a little bit, and kind of can see the familiar, because people say to me, how are you so happy? What you must be, and I'm like, I'm happy because I'm making the most of life. I'm happy because there's so much negativity in life, and I'm not going to be unhappy because of other things other people have done to me, which is a lot of people get caught in that, like, feeling
Yeah.
bad because of what's happened. Where with me, I was like, positivity will win. I want a good life. I want to live. I want others to see you can live. And why I walked away from the world of being known was because everyone seemed to be getting stuck on the train. They became, sorry to jump off subject, but they became trans. And I was like, I want to be a woman, not that label. So for me, I think it's like this, similar with you. You kind of like, you're stubborn, not in a bad way, you've been brought up right, so you're kind of like, well, no, I'm not going to dwell on that. Same with you. I don't need a guide. I can do this. And that'll be the whole core of you, your belief system, how you've been brought up by your family will be why you've just been able to guide yourself a little bit like I've been able to guide myself.
Yeah, and I do think that, not that I've had lots of trauma, I think the worst trauma was losing John in my life, but I do think that, you know, challenges, trauma, situations where we are left feeling as if, what have we got? We've got nothing anymore. I think that that for me anyway, that they've given me strength. You know, it's like I've been broken so many times and glued back together with super glue. I'm stronger than ever, you know, which can happen. And I think that gives one a perspective on life, that I can spot immediately another person that is experiencing the trauma that I have felt in my life.
Like, is it like almost like a magnet, like that kind of energy?
Maybe I think you're describing it really well. Definitely. But then I think that what kicks in is this innate, incredible psychic ability. And I say incredible because, you know, you've got it. We all have it. And it's a wonder to behold. It's part of a human being that science is only just coming round to recognizing. Science is recognizing it.
I can see that as well. I'm such a little nerd when I watch all my programs, and I'm like, oh, they're starting to really connect with the earth, Mother Nature, the planet, the energy. I actually believe previously, before we were the way we are, I believe that was how we lived. It was all energy based, connected.
Yeah, and it was all like, yeah, exactly. And it was like animals have this we call it a sixth sense that they have, because they don't have a language like us. I mean, they do have their own languages, but they don't, you know. And so I think that our sixth sense that we had, you know, millennium ago, we've almost, you could say, anesthetized that with rubbish, with the layers that have come, you know, more like everything's got to be instant, you know, radio, TV, cars, which are wonderful. I love all of that. But I think you're quite right. It's basically, you could say, washed away our natural instincts.
Our natural ability to connect has, well, it's now turned into a mobile phone, which I love as well, and I love we can do this. But
yeah,
I wish I was sometimes just outside having a good chat with the people, rather than what other people. Like, I always find people are very self-deprecating on themselves. They've got the worst this, and I kind of think that's someone put that in your head. Like that you know, you've got to find where these come from. I always say it to people, it's my biggest thing. If you're standing still and miserable, look to the right, look to the left, because they're probably the people holding you back. And that is just the bit, I learned that the hard way. And I think people can really get out there and punch through. Like, you've done so much, Sally. You should be so proud of your success, proud of what you've achieved, proud of the memories you've made with people. But what for you is kind of like the next stage, would you say? As you said, you can't trust everyone who does the horoscopes, etc. But what was next for you? Because I feel, and we've had loads of psychics and different people with abilities look up to you, and I think kind of feel guided with you. And I loved before that you said you can't trust everyone, because, you know, people will try and make a buck. And I kind of love the fact that you have no mask to be false. You can kind of take the hard with the good, take the bad with the ugly.
You see, at the end of the day, I am me. This is very simple, but I am me. And as much as people might want to impersonate me, and, you know, that you get them all with, there's so many Sally Morgan pages that are obviously, you know, not real.
Trying to get in touch with you was crazy.
Yeah. Well, you know, at the end of the day, it's a bit like, but they can never be me, can they? No one,
Also,
no
as
one
well,
can ever be
the best
you.
compliment is imitation. So take it, take it, take it.
Yeah, well, it's not really taking it as a. I just think to myself, well, it's no good getting upset about it because they're not me. They can never be me, and I don't wish to sound overconfident, but seriously, I know who I am, and I know I know my work, and I am often never say never, and I'm often surprised by certain things that happen, and it's a bit like, whoa, I didn't know that was going to happen, where my work is concerned. But as a person, I've never ever had. I mean, we it's a business now, isn't it? It has to be a business. So therefore, I'm lucky I've got people around me and my daughter who runs it. But she might say we're looking to do this in 6 months or that in a year and things like that. But apart from that, I don't have anything where I say, oh yes, my next goal is whatever. I don't. It's whatever comes along, really.
But you've just brought it to a brilliant. My next question is, what is next? You do the tour. I know you. I saw you, but I couldn't. I was busy at work. But you were doing an online, like a.
Oh,
What
yeah.
was that?
Well,
Tell us
that
about
was, yeah.
that.
Well, they're just little fillings. It's called Virtually Yours, and I'm doing it with another. I've never ever worked with another psychic. He's so lovely. I just fell in love with him, and he's very talented. So I said, yeah, I'll do it with you. So because I do also think, and we need to build up. They've got to be genuine, and obviously,
Can you see
yeah,
them?
yeah, I can.
Oh,
I
I bet
can.
you're like, no, 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 no. Let's go.
Well, everyone's got to do what they got to do, but I know you could say with the real deals, put it like that. And I think that, yeah, so it was just something that we're doing, and we're going to be doing it for a couple of months, a few months. They're almost, you could say, like wearing different clothes, you could say. But as for what the next thing for me is I'm just really grateful that I'm still working at my age.
Love
I'm
that.
very, very great, and I'm very grateful that people want to watch me and want to have the possibility of me talking to them and giving them messages and information. If I can carry on doing that until as I've always said, God rest his soul, I'm going to do a Tommy Cooper. I'll be on stage, bang, that's it, curtains. And that'd please me. That'd suit me just fine.
Well, if that's what I see in the headlines, I'll go, she did it. There you
She
go.
said it.
There you
Look,
go.
she said it on my program. This is what
Yes,
she
she
said.
said it live on my show. Well, I will say, Sally, to round this up, I want to thank you. You interacted with me on my 3rd day of being on TikTok. So I'm very new to TikTok because, as you know, with life, you've got to sustain yourself. So I focused on work,
Oh
doing
yeah, and I
with
think,
my
yeah,
friends, and I
and
came
I
on
think that
TikTok to connect.
absolutely. And when you TikTok, we need to be, and I'm so aware of this at my age. We need to be on point. We need to be ahead of the game. We need to. I want the youngsters. I get people now, and they're sort of like. I mean, where was I in Starbucks? This was last year. Young kid, he could have only been about 18, and I'm in the queue, and he went, "Oh my god, oh my god! I watched you on Big Brother." I said, "You must have been about 7 or 8." He went, "Oh yeah, with my nan. He went, you're so." So he was like 18, 19. I want the kids to know I'm not ashamed of the world that I work in. I'm not ashamed of me. I'm not ashamed of because I say, do you know what? I can pick up energy around you and I get told certain things. I'm not ashamed of that. So I want the youngsters to know about it. And there's nothing better. The platform at the moment that's really sort of edgy is TikTok.
Yeah, well, I before I was in the world of business, I was doing interviews and I loved it. But as I said, I hated the label. So when I was able, I said to my neighbor and my sister, I'm sick of being alone, having money and being at the top's crap. And my sister went, "Oh, get on TikTok, go and be positive." And I came on and everyone was like, "We love you." And I was like, "Oh, I love you too. This is great." And I try to say to people, stop sending me gifts. And then I realized, oh, you have to work the algorithm. So what I've been doing is these lives. I want to interview people. I'm going to do some like talent shows. I'm launching TikTok's Got Talent. I'm really excited about that. I'm going to do it around Christmas time to hopefully help give back to people around Christmas time. I will, of course, be emailing you and asking you to spend one night with us and be a special judge.
I will. I'd love to be a
Just
judge.
putting that out there, Sally, while I'm on with you.
I can be channeling Amanda Holden, can't I?
Yes, you could be we'll try not to channel Simon, because
I'll get me lips done, and I shall be Amanda. I'll ask her who does her lips, and I can be there for you.
I would absolutely love that. I'm planning it as we speak. I really want to bring what social media is meant to be for, and I would like TikTok to be able to be the platform I do that on. I'm so grateful for you bringing your energy, bringing your time to talk to me, to talk to little old me. I just want to say thank you for joining us. You are an absolute joy.
Well, we'll speak again soon, won't we?
We will.
You're going to do so well on TikTok, and you're quite right. The gifting, I always say, to gift is so lovely because it's like a pat on the back, but you do need it for the algorithms. It's
100%.
Otherwise, you don't get a place. You're all. It's like
Sally, I got nearly 1 million likes last night, right, in me live. And yes, it was great, but as soon as someone gifted us something, I went straight up, and I'm sat there thinking, how? But it is the way,
It's all the algorithms, and it's everything that they put in, and you go up a different level. I know.
I mean, I'm a big gifter, and I do go around. Like I did an interview this morning with Gio, who is a Brazilian singer. And I'd met her just like you, Sally. Like I feel an energy. Say I've got a spiritual connection, but energy is something I feel. I know when someone's not good for us, and I need to quickly move away. Especially in business, I feel that. But when I meet some people online, I was like, literally with you, I didn't have any idea that you were going to bring us up at anything. I was just like, yes, she's amazing. I love this. And then you were like, hello, and I was like, whoa, I'm alive with Sally Morgan.
But don't you think everything's meant, isn't it?
It happened for a reason. You're now here. Hopefully you'll be part of my little TikTok extravaganza.
Darling. You'll see me again. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
Well, once again, from me and everybody in my channel and on yours, thank you from the bottom of our heart. We love you, Sally.
Thank you. God bless, darling. God bless and good luck on TikTok, Faye. Bye.
Thank you. I'll see you around. Bye, darling.
Bye. Hold on a moment.
You're the same as me. I don't even know how to turn things off.
I'm just going to turn you off. Hang on a minute.
Wait. I can disconnect you.
Go on then.
Love you.
Bye. How long have I been on TikTok and I still can't do it? Listen, everybody, I'd love to stay on, but I can't stay on because I'm doing some Zooms, and which leads me very nicely. If you want a one-to-one a Zoom with me, all you got to do is send an email to info@sallymorgantv. Someone will get back to you. So I've fitted this in between. Isn't she lovely? And that is Fluffy Pixie, whatever her name is, or Pixie one, whatever. Oh, and I hope I didn't bore you all. Most of you that are on my page, you've heard me with those things before, haven't you? My answers and everything, which is, they're never going to change because that's exactly what my life is like. Listen, everybody, it was wonderful. Thank you, Pixie Faye. That's it. Positive Pixie Faye. She's lovely, lovely person. Lovely girl, very attractive. And Miss Sally Asquith's there, my birthday. You're all there, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow. Laters, potatoes. Bye.